The month is May. The last Christian outpost in the Holy Lands is being overrun by Muslims, and in this outpost, there is a single medic awaiting certain demise, already having been struck between the shoulders with a lance. Yet, he is one of the lucky ones. Most of his comrades already dead, defending the surrounded outpost with their lives. He musters his final bit of strength to write a final letter of what happened here before he perishes. They entered the city on all sides early in the morning in a very great force. We and our convent resisted them at St. Anthony's Gate, where there were so many Saracens that one could not count them. Nevertheless, we drove them back 3 times as far as the place commonly called Cursed, and in that action another, where the brothers of our convent fought in defense of the city and their lives and country. We lost little by little all the convent of order, which is so much to be praised and which is so close to the Holy Church, and then came to an end. Armor affected the Crusades in many ways, but for starters, we first must explore what, when, who, and where were the Crusades. For many historians, the end of the Crusades, a 2-century war to take back and defend what is now Israel, the Palestinian territories, Lebanon, Western Jordan, southwestern Syria, and Anatolia from the Muslims. All these places, except Anatolia, were known as the Holy Lands. Yet one must wonder, how did conflicts get from a simple tribe wars to multi-million people armies with thousands of suits and armors and weapons? Although today we will not be able to answer all those questions, we will be able to answer one. Today, I welcome you to the frontier of armor during the 7th through 9th Crusades. Armor has always been a significant part of human history, from the Macedonian Empire wearing hardened cuirasses to modern-day soldiers wearing Kevlar. First and foremost, one must acknowledge that armor only came about for protection for humans against humans made by humans. The first time we can accurately pinpoint the use of armor was in Greece around 3,400 years ago. Although this is debated as it could have been earlier or later, through thousands of years of warfare, humanity seemingly evolved along with its equipment. Around 4th century BCE, chainmail was invented. It was very effective against slashing weapons. Although credit is mostly given to the Celts, there are Etruscan examples of chainmail being used. Then the Romans came around, and they used various armors. But at their peak, they used the lorica segmentata, which was the stereotypical armor you imagine when you think of Roman soldiers. After the Roman Empire fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantines, wore scaly iron armor of great Persian influence, while Western Europe mainly used chainmail during that era. To understand anything about the Crusades, which is what this whole video is about, you first must know why they happened. To put it very simply, the Holy Land in Anatolia was captured by Muslims. In effect, the Christians became outraged, and the somewhat legendary speech by Pope Urban II made this hatred much more pronounced. Hence, the Crusades started. The reclamation of the Holy Land. The most popular and significant crusades were the first and third, which reclaimed a lot of territory in the Holy Land in Anatolia. Sadly, I cannot tell you every single battle and massacre of the Crusades, but I can tell you that the Crusades we are focusing on today were perhaps one of those ones that were not looked back positively by historians, and were perhaps a waste. Yet, I believe the exact opposite, because they provided ample testing grounds for plate armor. The armor during the 1st through 6th Crusades stayed generally the same, besides the helmet. During those crusades, most knights and crusaders wore a coat of mail and a surcoat above that to protect them against the heat in these more eastern regions. As for the helmet, it just turned from a nasal helm to a bucket helm to a great helm, which is what we imagine today when we think of knights. The 7th through 9th Crusades saw one of, if not the first use of plate armor, which was a massive upgrades on all fronts, except mobility. Although that effect is mostly seen in the latter centuries of plate armor, where it peaked like the 15th and 16th centuries with full plate. The first plate armor we can see on the battlefield is 1 to 4 pieces of hard metal riveted onto chainmail. Although not the prime time of plate, it was one of the most important developments in all of history, equal, if not more, to the atomic bomb. If one empire or kingdom had plate armor, even just riveted to their chainmail, it would be an unequaled advantage on the battlefield, providing more protection from crossbows, spears, and more. This all was a strain on the soldier's mobility, was wise compared to chainmail, as of its added protection. This new plate armor usually came in two forms, like I just mentioned, plates riveted to chainmail or a cuirass/breastplate. The effects of this in battle were astonishing, giving Western Europe a small advantage during the Crusades of Tanzania. But what is most interesting to me is that this was the time of the Mongols, which complicated things. This was especially apparent when a French accidentally killed a Mongol commander, which sparked the Mongols to raid the town of Sidon. In response, the Templars attacked the Mongols, but it failed. So, the Mongols took one of their main commanders hostage for a large ransom, and which caused more loss for the Europeans. But, to get back on topic, this new development caused a spark that was insurmountably big, causing the full suits of armor in the 15th and 16th centuries. After the fall of Angkor, which marked the end of the Crusades in 1291, all of the Holy Land in Anatolia was claimed by the Muslims, making the 7th through 9th Crusades almost completely useless. But one must remember that although they were useless historically, they ushered in a new generation of armor. But sadly, these Crusades caused more power to the royal houses and an increase in xenophobia today between Christians, Muslims, and Jews. And some of these effects still stand eerily true today. And it is my hypothesis that one of the main victims in World War II was Jews, which probably sprouted from the Crusades and the xenophobia to them. Luckily, the Crusades did not have all negative effects. For example, it strengthened international trade massively and exchange of ideas and technology between seemingly different cultures. Not to mention, the armor inspired generations more to evolve into full plate. And that armor has written our history many a times, whether it be wars or peace. It was one of the most significant things in our history as humans and how we perceive our world. Sadly, when gunpowder came around, body armor slowly fell into disuse. And around the time of the Civil War and even before that, in the Revolutionary War, it was too heavy and not thick enough to protect from bullets. So it died, along with the Middle Ages. In modern days, armor has surged. Not plate, but Kevlar, a discovery only found about 80 years ago during World War II. Although I've described most of the history of armor I can never describe it all. And that is because there is still more to come.